Afternoon, my colleagues. I am Dr. Prasanna Kumar, endocrinologist from Bangalore. Today we'll be discussing about artificial intelligence in diabetes. Before we start this artificial intelligence in diabetes, we should understand what is artificial intelligence, what is intelligence, then what are the different types of artificial intelligence, how you can use it in routine practice or day-to-day care, how this artificial intelligence will help us in the future. I don't have any conflict of interest for my talk. So the purpose of this talk is to have about definition of intelligence, definition of artificial intelligence, and the terminologies which we frequently use like artificial intelligence and related application, as well as the list of relevant publication of the artificial intelligence applied to diabetes research. The topic is so huge, I may not be able to cover everything. Whatever I think is relevant, I'll be able to cover. I'm not a software expert, but still, what I need to know as an endocrinologist or physician, that's what I'm going to talk about it. Let us see what is the definition of artificial intelligence. There are many definitions. One of the best I can say is the ability to make computers to do things that would require intelligence if done by humans. That means the computer will think and act like a human being. So it is not a substitute to human being. It is not a substitute to doctor. Please don't misunderstand. One day artificial intelligence will say doctors are replaced, jobs will go away. Definitely not. Artificial intelligence will make things easier for a doctor, and it will make one day so that we make less number of mistakes. Now, the next thing is what is intelligence? Because memory is different, intelligence is different. Once we know what is intelligence, then we know what is artificial intelligence. Normal intelligence is what all of us possess. Artificial is what a machine has or we create. Machine depends upon your inputs. Without your input, machine cannot learn anything. Machine cannot think like a human being. Intelligence is usually defined as a group of abilities such as understanding, learning, and reasoning to make decision and to solve problems. All of us learn and we become intelligent because we hear something, then we think about it, understand it, learn it, assimilate it, then remember it, and when we want to recapitulate, starting from inputs, storing, analysis, and then ability to express. This is what computer does. A computer learns with inputs. Then computer will analyze huge number of data. Then after analyzing, computer will give an output. This is exactly what it is. Though we have taken a small baby step today, in the future, this is going to have a huge impact on day-to-day activities, including the disease management, especially diabetes and chronic diseases as such. As I said earlier, artificial intelligence tries to emulate these aspects of human intelligence by means of number of tools. Those tools, how do we make and how do you think in future this will be useful to us? And as I said, there are many definitions, but suffice it to say, a group of abilities such as understanding, reasoning to make decisions. Most important, all of us may have one problem. But how do we learn and how do we react and reason? One, basically, it is your experience. So you need to have a lot of experience. So sometimes somebody takes a quick and right decision because they have faced such a situation. So computer also depends upon your inputs. If you consistently give the inputs, this is known as machine learning and it gives an answer. It is also not trivial to define this. Don't think it is very trivial or simple things. And artificial intelligence emulates these aspects of human intelligence by means of many tools, which I told you already. And artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science capable of analyzing complex medical data. So we need to have an engineer. That means this is a technology. Today, I don't think in the next 10 years you will get fantastic drug to cure diabetes, most unlikely. And what you are going to see is fantastic technologies, point of care, artificial intelligence, which will make the early recognition of pre-diabetes, diabetes, and recognition of complication and treatment algorithm and reduce complication, reduce hospitalization. This is exactly what artificial intelligence is going to do in future. Artificial intelligence is a general term that implies the use of computer to model intelligent behavior with minimal human intervention. So this is very, very important. So what it does, you need computer, artificial also, but there'll be minimum human intervention. Artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science that aims to create systems or methods that analyze information and allow handling of complexity in a wide range of applications in diabetes. Because when you see one patient, his height, weight, blood pressure, fasting, postprandial, random HbA1c, lipid, urea, creatinine, hundreds of parameters are there. Now, there are guidelines to say what should be his ideal body weight, what should be his diet, what should be his exercise, what should be the target. There are so many medicine, which drug you should use. This is where artificial intelligence will come, taking all the input of a patient. It may suggest, in this case, according to guidelines, metformin is the first drug. Okay, good. Then you say patient weight is 60 kg, 45 years. What should be the dose? Artificial intelligence, because depending on your last 10 years prescription, please start with 500 milligram OD. Then it says after 2 months increase it to 500 milligram BD. Or it may say HbA1c is 8, please start dual medication, metformin plus liptinol. This is how it goes on suggesting. You don't have to look at guidelines. You don't have to go on to read and all that. This is how there minimal human intervention with lot of input from computer. Artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science that aims to create systems or methods that analyze information and allow handling of complexity in a wide range of applications in diabetes. Now, you have understood intelligence, artificial intelligence, how the software engineer, along with a doctor, have developed a computer where doctor has to give all the inputs, what information he wants, what he wants from computer, then it is ready. There are two main branches of artificial intelligence. One is virtual, another one is physical. So what is virtual artificial intelligence? What is the virtual branch includes informatics approach from deep learning information, management to control of health management system, including electronic health records and active guidance of physician in the treatment decision. So remember one thing very, very important, that for artificial intelligence to work in your practice, you need electronic health records, EHR or EMR, electronic medical records. Why? When you see a patient, starting from patient 1 to 50,000 or 1 lakh, whether you are practicing 1 year or 20 years, from day one when you have this computer, if all the data is there, this huge data is fed to the computer. Now computer will have deep learning information. Once you get all the information, it knows how to manage it, how to control the health management system, because the computer knows the lowest limit of blood sugar should be 70, it should not go below it. Upper limit should be 160, it should not go above that. It will know HbA1c should be below 6.5, it should not go above 7 or 8. Computer know blood pressure has to be below 140, 80. So machine learns from all your inputs what should be the upper limit, lower limit. It also start learning what are the frequently used medicine, whether you use metformin first, sulfonylurea second, gliptins are third, when do you use insulin. When the HbA1c is 8, it says last 2 visits, HbA1c is 8, you have used metformin, you have used gliptin, you have used SGLT2, sulfonylurea. Of insulin I should start. Patient weight 60 kg, please start with 0.25, 0.2 units per kg, please start with 15 units per day. Which insulin I will start? Fasting is higher, postprandial is not so high, please start with basal. This is what we expect in future, even grading your treatment. This is what is known as virtual branch of artificial intelligence. When you are actually entering the patient data, when you are examining the patient, it will give suggestion. Then physical branch is best represented by robots used to assist the elderly patient or the attending surgeon. Yes, this is something which most of us probably at this stage we may not use, maybe later, because I'm thinking 2025 or 30, when somebody enters your clinic, they have an appointment, you may not have a receptionist, robot will open the door and he will show his appointment. Robot will say, welcome to my clinic so and so, please be seated. The robot will say, what would you like to have, coffee or tea or juice? The robot will bring. There's already a robotic restaurant in Bangalore, and it has got a tablet. When it go to that, it will just enter that, whatever the menu is there. Once you enter, it goes to the kitchen. The order, the robot will bring on a tray. You take it and pay the bill. So it is already existing here in Bangalore. So it is not far off when, especially less number of staff in that, they are not, that robot has already been used, especially in COVID in country, where is in ICU, it has to deliver the medicine or food to a patient. The robot will go open the door, deliver the food and medicine will come out. The person need not be in contact with them. This may happen to our clinic. The physical branch is best represented by robo, as you see, but at this stage, I don't think we need it. Then artificial intelligence methods in combination with latest technologies, including medical device. I'm going to talk about point of care, mobile computing, sensor technology, same AGP, all of you know, ambulatory glucose profile, and even putting into computer. And some of you might have seen or heard about insulin pumps, and you have got closed loop pump or artificial pancreas. Artificial pancreas has artificial intelligence. All these have potential to enable creation and delivery of better management service to deal with chronic diseases like diabetes. Especially, it is very, very useful. Today's our topic is diabetes. So let us stick to diabetes, how all these things, artificial intelligence can be used along with technology, medical device, medical computing and sensor to see that better diagnosis and management of diabetes. And artificial intelligence is a quickly growing field, and its application to diabetes research are growing even more rapidly. 30 years back, we didn't know what is artificial intelligence. There are already in big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and all, Department of Artificial Intelligence, and there are already people working on it for the government as well as private. Intelligent algorithms are widely used in data-driven methods to support advanced analysis and provide individualized medical aid. So when you put all the data, the artificial intelligence will say, this particular patient, man or woman, 40 or 60, with complication, without complication, what is the ideal drug? Once it says all these drugs, that the metformin, then sulfonylurea, gliptin, then glitazones, or even SGLT2 inhibitors or insulin. It says in this patient, probably this is the best drug to start. Or you have to start 2 drugs because HbA1c, or you have to start 3 drugs. Or the patient has already 400 blood sugar, HbA1c 12, artificial intelligence says, please start insulin initially. So whatever the artificial intelligence suggests, a doctor can override in some cases. Just because artificial intelligence says you have to follow, it gives you a thick view and then say this is what according to the science you should be doing it. Intelligent algorithms are mostly one which will be used, and there is also evidence that an increasing number of healthcare companies are applying these techniques. I will show you some of the examples where it's already available. As I told you, artificial intelligence can be virtual and physical. We have explained that. And artificial intelligence can be of 2 types, type 1 and type 2. What is type 1 artificial intelligence? It is narrow artificial intelligence. What we have most of it today, narrow artificial intelligence. Next, we'll have general artificial intelligence. The third thing is strong artificial intelligence. I will call the strong artificial intelligence as super artificial intelligence. Narrow, low-hanging fruit, general, and strong is what we call super artificial intelligence. Once 5 or 10 years from now, in the type 1, when they have super artificial intelligence, it almost thinks and works and behaves like a doctor. So maybe 10 years from now, Prasanna Kumar will be replaced by that artificial intelligence, which talks like me, which thinks like me, which will give a prescription like me, because it would have access to a patient, what the prescription pattern in this patient. Type 2 artificial intelligence is reactive machines. The machine just reacts to what it is. Just when you go there, and then when you go to your gym, just look at that, it opens the door. Why? It is just reactive machine. The machine has learned that it has captured this Prasanna Kumar face, it opens. If somebody comes, it will not say who is he, it says he is not Prasanna Kumar. This is known as mirror imaging. And this is available face recognition. Interest in your phone. Even your phone has got this reactive machine. Only when they see face recognition or thumb impression, then it will open. Limited memory. Some of them have very limited 100, 500, 1000, 10,000. Then theory of mind, just like huge number of data is given, your brain can store, and then it will analyze innumerable data and it will think like a human being, and theory of mind. The last thing is self-awareness. So computer knows that how a individual person is going to react depending on the previous experience. What is weak artificial intelligence or narrow artificial intelligence? Weak, general, and super. Narrow artificial intelligence is a type of artificial intelligence which is able to perform a dedicated task with intelligence. I told you, simple example, your phone. Just the mirror image of is there, face recognition, it opens. Whereas I show my face, your computer or your mobile phone will not open because it says no, it is not so and so. We don't know who is this person, but it is not the same person who is the owner of this phone. So most of your smartphones have this narrow artificial intelligence, including opening of a door, face recognition, as well as thumb recognition. Most common currently available intelligence is narrow intelligence in the world of artificial intelligence. Narrow artificial intelligence cannot perform beyond its field or limitation as it is only trained for one specific task, also termed as weak. It will have only one, face recognition or thumb. That's all. That's why it is weak. I'll give some examples in diabetes. Apple, Siri, Alaska are good examples of narrow artificial intelligence, but it operates with a limited predefined range of functions. What do you say? Alaska, tell me, what is the capital of Iceland? It has gone through all these countries and it says the capital of Iceland is Reykjavik. Fine. So I don't have to go and search in a computer. So like that 150 countries, if I tell it the capital of these 150 countries, because it is already stored in the computer, I will search on the internet, it can do that. I'll ask Alaska to give a sound. I ask a question that I don't have water supply in my house, what will you do? Alaska, sorry, I don't know what you are talking. I can't answer your question. This is narrow artificial intelligence. International business machines as IBM, Watson supercomputer also comes under narrow artificial intelligence. You know, these supercomputers are there for more than a decade, as it uses an expert system approach combined with machine learning and natural language processing. So even the supercomputer today, IBM, has a narrow artificial intelligence. Some examples of narrow artificial intelligence are playing chess. Some of you can go on internet and play chess with the computer itself without somebody else in the other country or world. Purchasing suggestion on e-commerce. You know, Big Basket, today you see 20 types of biscuits. They have got rice, vegetable, fruit. Click on that and it will pick up and it will deliver. Self-driving cars, which was a dream 10 years back, already reality in 5 years. Many places will have self-driven cars. The drivers will lose their job. Speech recognition. It can recognize your speech and then it can even translate it into the version. So gone are the days when I'm going to type on the computer. Once I have recognition, I go on talking the whole book and it will recognize, it will type what you want. And image recognition, I have already told you. This is one of the simple computational intelligence or machine intelligence. What is this? On the left side, you see in my clinic where it is ankle brachial index. How does it do? When my nurse takes this measurements, it will automatically enter there. Not only enter there, as you can see here, the interpretation. Normal right arterial supply, normal left arterial. Why? Because it knows that when the posterior tibial, this is the pressure, and right brachial, left brachial, 120 to 120 normal. I have not going to analyze what immediately gives that this is normal because I have put a range lower and upper limit. This is normal ankle brachial index depending upon that, and it automatically calculates this that it is 1.13 on the right side and 1.0. When my nurse does it, I get the whole and it gives the normal values here. This is simple learning. Then when I'm testing with the NeuroTouch, all the sensation here, and all that is taken, and it also gives an opinion. It's not I have written, and it says that the right foot and left foot, it is normal. So simple ankle brachial index as well as the touch, the vibration sense what we are seeing, and with a monofilament touch, all these things is yes, touch sensation is normal with monofilament or using a neuro touch, and then these things are printed out. These are all simple things which we are using narrow artificial intelligence in our day-to-day. Then, how is it that artificial intelligence in diabetes will have? Now you see there is a general knowledge like this. And this, there's a new case. As soon as a patient comes to my clinic, once I enter the mobile number, patient's name or hospital ID, I have got 3 ways of recognition. What's your name? Ramesh. There may be 100 Ramesh. No, sir, please tell me your mobile number, 944 dash dash dash. Immediately I put within seconds, out of 75,000 data, in 10 seconds I can return, depending on mobile number specific. Suppose he does not have it. What's your hospital ID? 11828. 11828 is Ramesh, tuck, it comes. So once you do that, it will receive that case, then reuse that prescription, and it will solve the case, revise, and tested case, confirmed solution, and retain, and learn some. So once a patient comes, retrieve the data, and I give the input, this time physical examination, BP, everything, again reuse, going back and forth like that, revise the situation, it will give me what are the last 10 visits. For the last 10 years, 28 visits. If I put a curve, what was HbA1c 2000 to 2001, 2, 3, 4, it will give a curve, how it is increasing, decreasing. Then a test case confirmation is done, it will retain that. So every input, the machine is learning every visit, and once the case is completed, data will go back as a past case. This is how the whole thing works, where with EMR, cloud-based, every patient that comes to the clinic, data is revised. I can retrieve the data within seconds. Now, components of artificial intelligence. There are many components. One is deep learning, the subset of machine learning composed of algorithms that permit software to train itself to perform tasks like speech, image recognition by exposing multi-layered neural networks to vast amounts of data. Then machine learning. I told you the 2 examples. In previous days, you remember, we used to spend 2 months, 3 months learning ECG. Today, not necessary. You take an ECG, nurse comes with an ECG machine. It says probably normal or normal. Machine says consider myocardial infarction. Machine says inferior wall infarction, lateral wall infarction. Machine says that there's a right bundle branch block, left bundle branch block. It says hemivesicular, anterior vesicular block. All these things which we took 3 months to learn, machine itself will say. Based on my knowledge and intelligence, I can say, sorry, it says consider myocardial infarction. This is not myocardial infarction. I have overruled, strike it and think. When it is normal, yes, normal, I just sign it. So this is how the machine learning, as we are all using ECG machines today, which will give the reading. You don't have to really rack your brain, just have a look. Yes, machine also says normal, you also sign. You just say that whatever machine has analyzed, that is correct. Then machine learning, a subset of artificial intelligence that includes abstract statistical techniques that enable machines to improve a task with experience. That means you have more inputs, then it will have deeper learning. So this is what I told you, it almost mimics like a human being. Now, if you see all the articles, look at 1987, there were hardly less than 5 or 10 articles, including diabetes and artificial intelligence. When it comes 2017, there are more than 10,000. If you look 2020, there are more than 20 to 25,000 articles, which if you have the search diabetes and artificial intelligence, you will get at least 20 to 25,000 tests and such. Now, this is what the raw data is fed to a computer. Now, data is ready, apply selected algorithm, and you will see that final model is their application. So this is how the machine also learns. So now coming back to how diabetes, where we can use areas and how it is. We can use artificial intelligence in diagnosis, blood glucose strategies, prediction of glycemic events. You can predict what will be the blood sugar 4 hours from now. 8 o'clock you are likely to get hypoglycemia. How does the patient know? The pump says, yes, based on last experience, you have taken this much of food. Now it is 2 units per hour. I expect you get hypoglycemia by 8 p.m. today. Patient can be very careful. Or the pump is not working, the blood sugar is rising after food, you are likely to have more than 400 blood sugar at 6 o'clock today. Prediction of glycemic events, hypos and hyper. Complication prediction. Now you have got already a complaint of tingling numbness, you are likely to have the neuropathy. And complication detection. I will show you how retinopathy can be detected by artificial intelligence. This is what simple tools we have. But when the super intelligence comes, there are many things it can do. So diagnosis based on genetic as well as clinical data, algorithm has been used to ascertain risk of occurrence of diabetes based on electronic health record data. Certain algorithms can alert physician toward possibility of diabetes diagnosis. Or if you don't do it, you may miss it. Why? Because once the technician, now today, as the patient gives the blood in lab, the test is ready, patient need not wait. As soon as the test is ready from the machine, it goes to the computer and to my EMR, it is automatically entered there. This is known as interfacing. Once interface, patient says report, don't worry, it will complete it. As I'm going through patient record, when I click on the investigation import, I'll get all that. The moment I get that fasting, it's more than 100, it will give a red one, and postprandial above more than 160, it will show red. If HbA1c is more than 6, it will give a color telling this patient is pre-diabetes or diabetes, sugar is not controlled. So many times your visual one will miss, but when you see in the computer, it gives an alert that patient is probably out of range, maybe having blood pressure or diabetes. Now, blood glucose strategies largely pertains to artificial pancreas, I told you. That is what you have got as an insulin pump, 370G, the latest one, which is a closed loop system. Large number of studies using different artificial approaches have tried to automate insulin infusion rate based on continuous glucose monitoring. So if you have got a AGP on one side and you have got a insulin pump, all these years, the software of the AGP or glucose sensor could not talk to the pump. What is this closed loop system? There is a sensor on your abdomen which every 10 minutes recognizes blood sugar. That is fed into the insulin pump. So you don't have to give the basal insulin at all. Just fill it, forget about it, and you keep a range 90, 140. As the blood sugar goes 130, 135, 140, pump is on. As the blood sugar goes 190, pump is off. So you fix a rise 90 to 140. The blood sugar sensor senses nearer to 90, pump is off. And the blood sugar goes above 140, pump will be automatically on. So the basal insulin you need not. Now you just have to, depending on the breakfast, lunch, dinner, you have to give the bolus dose for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Even for that, there are many apps known as dose calculators. If you just enter that you have taken 200 calorie of breakfast with carbohydrate, so much protein and fat, and it will say for this you need 2 units or 3 units of insulin, you can push for. So this artificial intelligence will help how much of bolus to take for this amount of food and activity and blood sugar. So this is how ultimately you don't have to worry about adjusting because you are struggling in the past how to adjust it. Prediction of glycemic events, prediction of impending hypo or hyper can be predicted based on the CGM data. Even it looks yesterday you took the same dose and within 4 hours you got sugar, you have taken same dose and you are going to get hypoglycemia 6 p.m. today. Prediction of risk of retinopathy, nephropathy, neuropathy, cardiovascular event by using baseline clinical and biochemical data. It can say your blood pressure today suddenly 200 by 110. You are likely to get a cardiovascular event. Please do something about it. Then complication detected. Artificial intelligence or machine learning approaches is revolutionizing detection of retinopathy in case of clinics of diabetologists by redirectly recognizing classifying stages based on the images. I'll show you the example how I am using for recognition of retinopathy. Now, this is what, don't think that this is done in Europe and USA. Development of well care and M health intervention for integrated management of hypertension and diabetes in low resource setting like our country. This publication is from India. This is of artificial intelligence. Many people are working in our country. And in India, undiagnosed diabetes is a major factor leading to increased number of diabetic patients and fatal organ complications. Computational intelligence-based diagnosis tool for detection of pre-diabetes type 2 from India. This is also a paper from India as such. The tool developed in this study provides a reliable alternative approach for detecting pre-diabetes and diabetes because it is built on modifiable lifestyle factors and easy to use. Now, what is the benefit of artificial intelligence tools? Highly useful in large-scale screening and hospital. Suppose you go to a place, 300 people are there, check their height, weight, blood pressure, blood sugar, which you should be able to use and categorize normal, pre-diabetes, depending on blood sugar or HbA1c, or blood pressure, normal or abnormal. Portable and very simple to use. User merely needs to enter the values in the computer interface and instant diagnosis available. You don't have to enter also, as I told you, interfacing. As my auto analyzer, biochemistry analyzer, pathology analyzer, even the hormone analyzer doing this study, it gets interfaced directly into my computer EMR. Nobody go on entering because there may be many errors. By looking at 13.5 and entering as 135, I've seen these mistakes. So by interfacing, the error computer data lab report to EMR will not happen. Such methods of early diabetes detection may be beneficial in reducing number of diabetes patients in the future. General artificial intelligence, that is the next level. These are all low artificial intelligence. Next, general artificial intelligence is a type of intelligence which could perform any intellectual task with efficiency like a human being. It thinks like general artificial intelligence is to make such a system which could be smarter and like a human by its own. Currently, there are no such systems which could make under general artificial intelligence and can perform any task as perfect as a human. But I'm sure in next 3 to 5 years you will get it. Worldwide researchers are now focused on developing machines with general artificial intelligence. It's a matter of years before we get machine with artificial intelligence. We'll move away from narrow artificial intelligence today to general artificial intelligence, I'm sure definitely by 2022 to 25. As systems with general AI are still under research, it will take lots of efforts and time to develop such systems. Now, what maybe we are dreaming in 2030 or 50. Super artificial intelligence is a level of intelligence of systems at which machines could surpass human intelligence. It is not just a human being. It will be more than human intelligence. So our brain has limited capacity. The super artificial intelligence will have much more capacity, much more memory, much more intelligence than a human being, and can perform any task better than human being with cognitive properties as such. It's an outcome of general artificial intelligence. We are in stage 1, then we go to stage 2 general. We may go to super artificial intelligence, whether it takes months or years or decades, we just have to wait and see. If it comes in our own generation, I'll be very happy. Some key characteristics of strong artificial intelligence include capability, including the ability to think. Now machines don't have. Ability to reason, ability to solve the puzzle, make judgment, plan, learn, and communicate by its own. Super artificial intelligence is still a hypothetical concept. Development of such a system in real is still world challenging task. Let us wait for it. We don't have to be pessimistic. So AI methods in combination with latest technology, including all the devices, and one of the most chronic diseases is diabetes, and we have to learn from these things. There are 141 papers in review in Journal of Medical Internet and Research 2018, that is artificial intelligence for diabetes management, decision support, and blood glucose control strategy. They told apps and systems. Blood glucose prediction as it is in some of the glucose sensor. Detection of adverse glycemic events, hyper and hypo. Insulin bolus calculator and advisory system. Apps are available. Risk and patient personalization. What is risk statistic, WS station, ADA, whatever it is, you put all the data, it says whether it is 5%, 10%, 20%, next 5 or 10 years for cardiovascular event or cerebrovascular event. Detection of meal, exercise, and faults. And it can detect today when you have a cursor and then have a cursor, you say what is the weight of this upma, what is the calorie, what is the amount of carbohydrate, fat, protein, minerals, everything it will give. Lifestyle and daily life support in management. You have sensors when you put it here, how much of exercise you have done, everything it will say, and it will integrate into your EMR, and you will have one dashboard which will show blood sugar 24 hours, 80 to 100 blood sugar. Exercise morning, afternoon, night. Meal that you have taken, breakfast, lunch and dinner, calorie, split calorie, and protein, fat and other things. And also snacks that you have. So one dashboard will show 24-hour blood sugar, variation, blood pressure, heart rate, diet, exercise. One look at it will give you everything. This is what is now available also. Artificial pancreas has been intensively pursued over the past, and artificial pancreas consists of automated system that mimics islet physiology. Just like an islet cell, which can sense the blood sugar, depending on the insulin necessary, it includes a glucose sensor, closed loop control algorithm, and an insulin infusion. Most of you might have seen this. Ultimate goal of artificial pancreas system is to improve oral diabetic management, reduce frequency of life-threatening events. So if somebody is HbA1c 8 or 9, you can see it comes as close to 7 as possible with artificial pancreas. Upper that is PID and model predictive control MCE that the algorithm based have successfully used closed loop studies even in the ambulatory setting as such. That is what we have got in that. This is an artificial pancreas as you see, that is known as closed loop insulin pump. There is a sensor here and there is a pump. The signals from the sensor goes to the pump, and depending on the blood sugar, the pump will infuse half unit, 1 unit, 2 units of insulin per hour. And then like here, what is the average 24 hours, 129, and then what is the time, and what is the rate, what is the bolus, everything it will show like. This is already available abroad. Hopefully it should come to India this year or next year. Now, artificial intelligence can predict the glucose variation. Ability to anticipate blood glucose excursion could provide early warnings regarding ineffective or poor treatment. Sometimes the pump ran off. Somebody goes to sleep. When he gets in the morning, he is coma. Why? Because the pump has failed and all the insulin is pumped. Or the pump failed, where pump does not push the insulin, by morning he gets with ketoacidosis. This information will go to computer. It will have a sound or vibration or some warning to say that something is wrong with the pump. Information collected from new technologies for diabetes management, such as continuous glucose monitoring device, could lead to real-time prediction of future glucose level. I told you hyper. And this prediction is challenging due to a number of physiological factors involved, such as delay associated with absorption of food, insulin, lag associated with interstitial tissue. But over a period of time, it will definitely improve. Yes, difficulty of glucose, approximately 9% is the mean absolute relative difference. Now, this is what it is. Once you have glucose sensor, what it is saying, I see that your sugar is often below target between 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. You might be doing something different at that time. I will keep an eye on the pattern during this time as I get more data. Saturday, 71% chance, other day 11% chance. See, this is artificial intelligence, which depending on the previous one, this is how the chart shows to the patient. Patient can take a snack. Detection of adverse glycemic events. Tool enables us to detect occurrence of glycemic episodes and give us opportunity to respond promptly to their effects. To deal with real-time approaches rather than prediction of future. Insulin bolus calculators, as I told you, advisory system to support carbohydrate counting, carbohydrate estimation, determination of insulin dose by patient. Tools for providing bolus advice. I told you, carbohydrate estimations are increasingly being adopted. There are an empty number of tools developed by many people. These tools seek to increase the accuracy of mealtime and correction bolus. Artificial intelligence can be used to provide sets of tools to improve accuracy of carbohydrate estimates and to calculate optimal insulin bolus in the ingested meal. So in future, you don't have to. What is the risk stratification? Important step towards better risk detection and intervention and personalization of the system. So ultimately, you will have personalized care. That is what exactly depending on your metabolic status, genetic status, and the drugs that you are taking, previous experience based on artificial intelligence. Over the past decade, developing major dose paying patients in different segments of population. And this is how the risk assessment will be helpful in future. So, as I told you, researchers from Imperial College of London have developed and tested a bolus calculator algorithm. This system uses continuous glucose monitoring data and smartphone. A pilot feasibility study has been published showing potential benefit of this over conventional bolus calculator. Retinopathy, this is one which we are using now. Recently, deep learning artificial intelligence has been shown to use these images of high sensitivity specificity. Algorithm has been developed that computes diabetic retinopathy severity from intensity of pixels in fundus camera. Function was trained with large set of images and then evaluated at one operating point, selected high specificity and a second operating point for high sensitivity, obtaining high scores. This is what it is. So even doctors who are not well versed in recognizing diabetic retinopathy, this is what you have got: the Remedios camera and you have got a smartphone attached. A nurse can take pictures like this. It will take two pictures in both eyes. So left and right, two pictures, four. Depending on that, it will analyze. And then the report also it gives no diabetic retinopathy detected, re-examine after 6 months. So a nurse will take like that. If you go to a village, if there are 300, 500 people, you take this photograph, you don't have to send it to, it shows 98% normal. Maximum there may be 2% where it detects and this, it marks an area and says there is an abnormal. What is it abnormality? Today it's not. Tomorrow it will give you whether it's hard X-ray, soft X-ray, maculopathy, retinal detachment, everything in another 6 months or 1 year. Only this normal. General artificial intelligence make out what is the abnormality. These 2% who are abnormal will only be referred to retinologists. This is how I have been using 2 years. We have published many papers and thousands of patients we have tested, and its accuracy, sensitivity, specificity is very, very good. So to assess the safety and performance of Omnipod personalized model predictive control algorithm in adults, adolescent children aged more than 6 years with type 1 diabetes under free living condition. This is what safety and performance of Omnipod hybrid closed loop system. It concluded Omnipod personalized MPC algorithm was safe and performed well over 5 days and 4 nights by use of a cohort of patients ranging from youth more than 6 years to adults and under supervised free living condition with challenges in daily. That means you have got a machine that is fundus photograph, fundus camera with intelligence, got a software where with artificial pancreas which can give you all this. So the summary of my adaptation process to incorporate new tools for diabetes management. And artificial intelligence is one of them. Telemedicine is other things. Technology and particularly sensors, computer applications have become a key instrument in diabetes management for healthcare providers and patients. Modern diabetes care units should include a diabetes technologist for dealing with technology. Knowledge on insulin pump and glucose is increasing, but comprehension about artificial intelligence and smart application performance remains largely inadequate. This is a small step to give an overall view, a bird's eye. What are the different types? What we are using today, pancreas or 370G insulin pump or a fundus camera with artificial intelligence or machine intelligence. And in future, I am sure that this technology will have wider applications and it will become probably a must tool with all the doctors who are practicing diabetes. Thank you for your attention, and I thank for including me in this. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to take these questions. So I see already many questions here. Let me start with the first question. What is the risk of coronavirus? Yeah, let me go there. The first question expected, what is the risk of coronavirus in 70-year-old diabetic patient whose blood sugar is almost controlled? I have practiced diabetes 40 years. I am not an expert in coronavirus because I have not seen a single case. 3 days back, somebody said, give a 5-minute talk on coronavirus diabetes. I said, sorry, neither have the experience, nor the expertise, nor knowledge, qualification to talk on that. I said, I can only say, depending upon what I have read, what the guidelines ADA, WHO gives, what they say, the risk in 70-year-old patient is more than young patient. 70-year-old with diabetes is much more higher risk than 70-year-old who is not diabetic. And 70-year-old diabetes risk is less compared to a 70-year-old diabetic with poorly controlled. You cannot change his age, fine. You cannot change that diabetic. At least having a good control, you are reducing the risk. We don't know what exactly is the risk. Are you asking the risk of getting infection? Or after getting the infection, his risk of getting admitted to hospital? Or after getting hospitalized, what is the risk of getting into pneumonia and ventilator? Or what is the risk of death? I think we need data to say exactly, just like in cardiovascular risk, hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, obesity, smoking, not exercising, what is the risk? There is a calculate. We don't have it. We can say high risk and low risk. When I say high or low, you have to compare with other one. Compared to diabetic 70 years, poorly controlled, the risk of 70-year-old diabetic well controlled is slightly less than poorly controlled. Next question, how do you use artificial intelligence in diagnosis? As I told you, once, let us say, once I am doing HbA1c for large number of people and this data goes into the computer, immediately says HbA1c below 5.8 non-diabetic, 5.8 to 6.4 it says pre-diabetes, 6.5 and above it says diagnosis. So for diagnosis, if we do only one data, HbA1c done properly with a proper method, what all of us use, HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography, HPLC, then HbA1c or A1c alone is good enough to diagnose non-diabetic, pre-diabetes and diabetic depending on HbA1c. This is how we can use artificial intelligence. Virus affect the entire endocrine system. If you ask me, my answer is I don't know. I don't think I should talk anything about anything whether I have the knowledge or experience. Maybe after this, when the worldwide data, people may be looking at pituitary, thyroid and all, how it is affected. As a limited knowledge, I have not any of that. It may not affect. To what extent, in whom, what are the effects of it? I don't know at this point. Maybe next year I'll be able to give some answer. Pathophysiology of diabetes. I don't think that is what we are looking at it because pathophysiology type 1 is different, type 2 is different, and other endocrine cause, it will become one more 3 hours lecture. What exactly is the concept of artificial intelligence in diabetes? I have already described and defined, and I have already told you how narrow or low artificial intelligence is what we are using in retinopathy, diagnosis, dose adjustment and all, and future will be general artificial intelligence, and we are hoping in the, if not very near future, maybe next decade, we have super artificial intelligence, which will think like a diabetologist, endocrinologist, even better than diabetologist as such. Mechanism of action of SGLT2 inhibitors, all of you know that this is not related to the topic. However, all of us know it acts by normally 1 or 2 grams of glucose in the urine per day, whereas you excrete 40 to 50 grams of glucose in the urine, blood sugar comes down, weight comes down, HbA1c comes down. Pathophysiology of diabetes, I said same thing. Then types of insulin, how to use insulin. All of you know this is not a, you have insulin, intermediate acting insulin, long acting insulin. How to use insulin will be a different CME. I don't want to go into that because there are empty number of CMEs, how to start and how to advance, how to titrate, how to reach the target. Insulin is only a 1-2. how to use depending upon gestational diabetes, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and tight control, loose control. It's a huge topic as well. What is the limitation of postprandial blood sugar? Yes, postprandial blood sugar means it can be any time after food. You have to define, is it 2 hours postprandial? It is better to get fasting before lunch, before dinner, because that is the time peak effect of the insulin will be there. If you are giving 3 times, you can adjust it. Just telling PPBS, what is PPBS for breakfast may not be postprandial for lunch, may not be postprandial for dinner. So doing one postprandial has no meaning. If you can at least do before lunch, before dinner, one, no hypoglycemia. If you still want, you can do 3 more, 2 hours post breakfast, 2 hours post lunch, 2 hours post dinner. That becomes 7 blood sugar. That is necessary only in just, or if you have a CGMS, continuous glucose monitoring, you get 80 blood sugars per day every 15 minutes. Then diabetes management in COVID positive cases, as I said, I have no experience, and whatever I have seen or read, it is just like any other case. Avoid hypoglycemia, avoid hyperglycemia, because diabetes management, that you have an average control is good. You don't have to give tight, because if you push the patient to hypo, probably you will cause more problem. You should not get hyperglycemia, because in type 1, if it's COVID, it may cause the ketoacidosis, but I have no experience. There are no published data. How can artificial intelligence help in choosing OHR insulin practice? This depends upon machine learning. If you put the guideline, when you say HbA1c 7.5, it says lifestyle modification plus metformin. It also gives a thing that starting dose is 500 milligrams. Good. Scale up to 2 grams. Then if the HbA1c is 8.5, it says even metformin 2 grams will not bring down 8.5 to 7. It says lifestyle modification plus metformin, and you can choose any of the drugs, sulfonylurea or gliptin or SGLT2. And it will say tomorrow, because patient is obese, please choose SGLT2 inhibitor. So you can put metformin plus SGLT2. If the patient is not obese, it says you can choose either the gliptin or you can use the other drug you can use. Suppose it says the patient is the most suitable one, because if cost is a factor, the most economical one is choose metformin plus sulfonylurea total. So depending on that, I think in future in personalized medicine, it will say, it will direct depending on the guidelines, height, weight of the patient, BMI, complication. It suggests, it only suggests, a pop-up will come, but you have to decide whatever the computer says. You have to use your own intelligence, talk to the patient, the cost of the drug, side effect and all that. And if somebody says I had 3 urinary infection, it says, sorry, you cannot use SGLT2 because he has got this. If the patient has renal failure, it says, sorry, you cannot use the glitazones as such. Like that, it will give indication. Then treatment of depression in diabetes. I am not a psychiatrist, and please refer him to a psychiatrist. It is better a psychiatrist treats depression rather than a diabetologist physician treating it. What is the relation between coronavirus and diabetes mellitus in the elderly? Whatever you have seen, little publication, it says, compared to younger patients. If you look at that published in the Italian and European race, initial data shows as the age advances 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, nearly 30 to 40% of the patients who die are in 60 and above age group. And patients with diabetes have got much more mortality in elderly without diabetes. So if you have diabetes, heart disease, blood pressure, elderly, your chance of complications are much more. That is the relationship. Use of artificial intelligence in OPD for diabetes. Yes, as I told you, I use in OPD the ankle brachial index I already showed you, and I'm using that machine learning already in the foot examination. I'm using all my patient retinopathy detection by the fundus camera with artificial intelligence, and even the machine intelligence ECG. By the time nurse brings it, it will give normal, probably normal, and myocardial infarction, anterior fascicular block, left bundle branch block, right bundle branch block, left ventricular hypertrophy. everything is giving. All these are 4 or 5 examples which I am already using. Mechanism of SGLT2, I have also told you. In heart failure with diabetes is the best drug because it is also acting like a diuretic. It also reduces the weight as such in patient. So SGLT2 inhibitors are the best drug in diabetes with congestive heart failure. Unless there are other contraindications like urinary tract infection, you must use it. And by reducing weight, reducing the fluid overload, it helps in the management of diabetes in the heart failure as such. You should use basement software. I won't suggest a particular one. I am not a, there are empty number of software. Please choose a software which is customized. There is nothing like on the internet I use it because that internet may disappear also. In the last 10 years, hundreds of companies have come. At least 50% have wound up there. The software provider for me is there for the last 10 years. Whenever I ask him, he is doing it. He is providing EMR to me. He is sending e-consultation to me, which is paid. Today, I have done 3 patients with video consultation. Just like this, I see on the left side record, right side, I see the patient. I am talking to the patient. I have a chat box also like this chat box. And whenever I enter, good morning, he will say good morning. So chat, video, audio, along with that. At the end of it, sir, what are your problems? Show me your tongue. Show me your be recorded blood sugar by the test that is done. Okay, I explained. I'm going to click a button. You'll get a prescription with my e-signature, with my letterhead, with my name, qualification, drug, dose, before food, after food, how many days, next, when he has to come on 13th of July 2020 with HbA1c, RBS, lipid profile, urea. The whole just like physical examination, except I don't touch the patient. Everything is done. So have a software we can give all these things, including IVRS, and it should be cloud-based. Most important, please remember, these are going to cost money. Nothing is available free. If you think that you will get free software, he is not obliged to do anything. He may wind up one day. Never take anybody's free, even if he is a friend. Go to a good software person who charges you reasonably for maintaining whatever it is. Consultation, you will also get money. So sitting at home in COVID, I 4 patients on video. I take 5 to 6 patients on e-consult. I have at least 1,100 patients on e-consult every week. At least 50 to 100 patients send it. Every day my clinic is now closed. Even if clinic is open, my agent will be there. They will do all the tests, enter the data. In front of computer, they sit. I am sitting at home. I am consulting my patient. So it is Voglibose causes fluctuation in patient. I have used Voglibose 10 years. I have stopped last 10 years. Voglibose, according to me, is the most costly, least useful, with lots of side effects. I don't use it accurately. There are much better drugs. If you use, you have to use 3 times a day with breakfast, with lunch, with dinner. If you take 2 more snacks, you'll have 2 more. 5 tablets. It is the costliest compared to anything that even SGLT2 inhibitors are cheaper today. Things are cheaper, metformin cheaper. Why do you want to use it? And HbA1c reduction with all these postprandial control is not even 0.2 point. That is and it is the least effective, most expensive, and least useful drug according to me. What does it mean? Artificial intelligence applying diabetes practice. My whole talk last 40 minutes was only that. What is the role of artificial diabetic patient? I have told you. Can anti-diabetic use hydroxychloroquine as prophylaxis for COD, COVID-19? Now, 1 month back, a lot of my colleagues, friends, everybody said, you are a doctor, you are at high risk, you take HCQ, what is the dose? Nobody knows. 400 start, 200 daily, weekly, monthly, all sorts of things, without any data whatsoever. I said, I refuse to take hydroxychloroquine. First, I am not a high risk. Who should take? Only high risk. Who is high risk? High risk are doctors who are treating COVID patients. None of us are diabetologists who are treating it. None of us are in ICU. You can adjust blood sugar over 4. Why you want it? Why should I take it? I am not even running my clinic. So I am a very, very low risk, like any general population, I will not take it. What some of them said that hydroxychloroquine was used in patients who are high risk, healthcare workers like doctors in ICU treating COVID active patients, or nurses, or paramedical staff, ward boss, ayas, they were given that. Again, there is a later study which was, I think it was published today, which said comparing a group of patients taking it, a group of patients not taking, not for prophylaxis. Patients who are already on that, in that small group, did not make any difference between the two groups. In fact, that small study showed patients on hydroxychloroquine ended up with more ventilators rather than those who did not use. It may be too early to say, but do you have any data say it or a cure or something like that? I don't agree to that at all. So we need lot of other data. As of there is no definitive cure for COVID-19. Whatever use, antiviral, chloroquine, antibiotic, these are all supportive measures. We still are long way from finding a cure. Even vaccine will be only in 2021. All of September 2020, according to Oxford today. By the time it is manufactured, used, available, it will not be before 2021. That's where I stop. Do we use SGLT2 group in COVID patients? I don't know. I don't think we can say anything because how we can apply artificial intelligence for other chronic conditions? Yes, if artificial intelligence, as I said, whether you are using EMR or EHR, whatever it is, at least for all these things, definitely you can use. But a hypertensive patient is different. Diabetic patient, I have told you, there are many other things. Maybe ambulatory blood pressure. Now you have 24 ambulatory blood pressure, a Holter monitor used by cardiologist, physician. Now there is a huge data. Now somebody can do it, put it to a computer, it will analyze and then give you that, yes, there are 10 blood pressures which are above systolic so much, so many diastolic above, and this is suggestive of hypertension, you should start medicine. Next, depending upon the age, height, weight, complication, diabetes, hypertension, others, it will say probably this is the best drug. It may say that ACE inhibitors are the best first drug in this patient. It may say patient have congestive heart failure. This is the diuretic which is the best for it. It may say amlodipine is best in this person. So depending on 10, 20, the artificial intelligence in future will suggest if you put all the data, what is best antihypertensive, whether it's mild or hypertension. I suggest 2 drugs depending on you should be using ACE inhibitors, beta blocker in this case. But intelligence will suggest medicine even in other chronic diseases like hypertension, heart disease, asthma, and even I think psychiatric diseases, so many other chronic diseases. Definitely artificial intelligence can use it, choosing drugs and making diagnosis and predicting also. Then which best molecule? There is not the best molecule. You have got a basket and you can decide in this drug basket whichever you want. It's like a cafeteria approach. You have got coffee, tea, badam milk, or whatever. You can choose what is best for your patient after discussing with the patient. What is the major side effect of teneligliptin? So as you know, like gliptins, all of them has the lot of gastrointestinal. These are some of the things. Some people say frequent upper respiratory tract infection also. So these are some of the, mostly they are all minor. Most of them are gastro. How many drugs can be given to control diabetes in elders? Most of the guidelines say maximum 3. Suppose you choose metformin, gliptin, glitazone, GLP-1 analog, sulfonylurea, and insulin. Out of this, you can use maximum 3 drugs. So when you use insulin, one drug which can always be used, metformin, unless he has renal failure. So definitely you can use insulin with metformin. You can also use insulin with the gliptin also you can use. You should not use insulin with the glitazone, pioglitazone or whatever such thing. You can also use insulin with GLP-1 analog also which has been used, which is good. And some people still use sulfonylurea in a small dose, not the full dose, half dose of sulfonylurea with that. I personally feel out of 5 or 6 OHA that is available, you can choose two oral antidiabetics, which can be used without contraindications in that patient, plus insulin when you're using. If you don't use insulin, you can use 3 oral antidiabetic agents. There are some people who use 4 also. I'm not able to go beyond. Samai, can you push this down questions to see 25th, 26 questions? Now it is coming. Yeah, there are only 24 questions. We have exactly finished in 1 hour. I hope there are any more questions. I hope I have answered all your questions to the best of my ability. And thank you once again, the organizers of this program. I thank all the participants for very interactive session. And I hope that all of us have gained something by this talk. Thank you once again. Hope we'll meet soon. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.